Sheriff Jim
How are you?
Pearlman.
Good morning.
I just spent an amazing hour out driving around with Jim Lentowski,
Oh yeah, I'll bet
In
that
the
was
moors.
amazing. Yeah,
talking about open space and
including
conservation.
where the fire was last.
Oh, yeah, well, he talked about it,
Yeah.
but yeah. Were you a part of that at all? You don't do that stuff, do you?
No, I would have helped with traffic, but they were all set.
What's a routine like for you as a
Well,
sheriff?
it's different
What's
every
that?
day, but usually Mondays are the day when I'd be more times than not be going over on the early boat and picking up people in custody to bring to court.
Does that happen a lot? I didn't think
Happens,
of it.
almost every week, and twice this week, in fact.
Wait a minute. You pick them up?
Well, they're in custody on the other side. at the House of
We don't
Correction.
keep them here, do we?
Right. So they're in custody at the House of Correction in Barnstable, and we bring them over here for a court appearance, and they either get continued or their case gets resolved, or they might get released.
But you're doing this every week with
Yep.
at least one person?
Yep. Sometimes two.
Does that financially make sense?
It makes more sense than having a jail here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which.
And why don't we just take care of them over there? It's because we're a county? Is that
Oh,
why?
you mean what?
Yeah, why don't we just
do it in Barnstable?
Yeah.
Well, because basically people have a right to face their accusers. So, in other words, whatever their incident might have been, they come back here to for that incident, and that's why the court's here, even though it's part-time. It's like everywhere else. So,
Okay, so what else do you do as your routine? So you come in.
Well, that's pretty much that's the part that people think is the weirdest, but to me, it's not the weirdest. It's the hardest part is the civil process. In other words, if a landlord, for instance, wants his rental back and the lease is up, he hires me to serve papers to give those people notice.
He has to hire you.
He has to hire me, or he can do it himself, but then if they don't leave for one reason or another, then he'll hire me to go evict them.
What does that cost to hire somebody to do that?
To serve the papers, I think it's, I don't know, it's usually $45 or $48, I think.
Okay.
What we do, we process the papers, we put the order on my letterhead, we hand it to the person or post it on their door, and then they have a certain amount of time to leave or to try and get it resolved.
Let me ask you, Jimmy. I mean, you've been here for a long time.
Yep.
How many years?
On the island?
Yeah.
I've been on the island for 46 years.
Okay. Does that get tough to have to serve people that sometimes you know?
It gets really tough, and especially some people.
Gosh,
I know a lot of people. People are jammed up for whatever reason, or they're doing everything right, and the landlord might want their place back. So, it's no fault of anybody's sometimes, but
Does this happen a lot?
Oh, it happens a whole lot.
I mean, because of the housing situation
Which
right
is
now.
getting worse and worse.
Okay, what's going on with that? Tell me.
Well, you know as much as I do. I mean, there's talk about building affordable housing,
Apartments.
cottages. I don't know that that's the.
872 to the detail officer.
I don't know that that's the. Excuse me.
Yeah. Is that you?
No.
Oh.
I don't know that that's the answer to build another 400 units. I think we need a correction of some kind, and I don't think building more units is the answer. But that's me.
Well,
personally.
the problem is that when people get put in a house and then they got to keep picking up and leaving, a communication errors can arise there. And but that's what keeps you busy, though. You need that work. I mean, you need that income.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I don't really.
There's other things you could be doing.
Well, there are other things I do.
What else?
For instance, banks and finance companies hire our office to serve papers, to go if people owe money, or they aren't paying their mortgage, or they aren't paying their car payment, or somebody,
They hire the office.
Yeah. Well, what we do is we serve the paper, so it gives kind of an official notice, on the sheriff's letterhead. So
I've always wondered this. Why is a sheriff, your position, different from what a sheriff is like out west? Or even in Maine, they're not called police. They're called sheriffs. Why?
Well, in other than Nantucket, of course, Nantucket is its own town and county. So we all know it's very small. Sheriffs in the rest of Massachusetts, for instance, their main job is to run the jail. So since we don't have a jail, here, my job is to, I have an agreement with Barnstable County and with other counties as well, because we have once in a while we have someone in Plymouth or in Bristol County, and you know, the arrangement we have is they hold our custodies. So, but also when you ask about the Midwest, the sheriffs out in the Midwest and down south, they have big budgets and a lot of employees, and they act like policemen. They do on the road, you know, covering like what the police and state police do, you know, because the counties everywhere else encompass many towns.
Yeah, they do.
And
That's
here
right.
it's just the town of Nantucket. So
is it only you? You're the only sheriff?
well, I'm the only sheriff in Nantucket. I have a deputy. I have one deputy, and I have 2 women in the office who process all the paperwork.
And where does the money come from to support the sheriff?
the state?
The state?
The state. My budget is set by the state. They give me X amount of dollars every year, and I use that for...
And then you make a little bit of money off of being hired to do these other...
That money stays with the office, although I don't make it. The office makes it.
Right.
And it's my discretion what to use that money for.
I see. Before you were a sheriff, what did you do?
Well, I've been in the food business.
Yeah.
I have a catering business, restaurant business.
You still
in the
have
past.
that?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I gave that up.
Is that a conflict? They wouldn't...
No, it wasn't a conflict. It was just the day job. My sheriff's job got busier and busier, and I needed to give it up. I mean, it was time.
But wearing the badge and the uniform,
You know,
it's an honor? I mean,
it's a real honor.
I would think so.
It's a great honor. I mean, I was elected by the residents of the town I live in, so I don't think there's a bigger honor than that. The fun part of the job is being out and walking around and talking to people, and you know, just being public.
You like that part?
Yeah, I love that part.
What about the worst part of the job? I would imagine...
back to the evictions, people I know who have done nothing wrong, but for whatever reason, or maybe they have done something wrong, but you know, they're losing their house. I've had to evict people out of a house they owned, and they can't make it anymore, or they're tenants because they never were homeowners. And of course, that's difficult because you know, very few people can afford to buy a home here anymore these days.
Oh, it's really tough,
Yeah.
isn't it?